February was a big month for one particular part of the Canadian economy, which has really shifted into overdrive.
So February actually was the biggest February on record for car sales in Canada. So according to DeRosier Automotive Consultants, 129,000 units were sold in the month of February. So that's a lot more than back in 2020, for instance. So shifting the time machine to pre-pandemic, that February saw 125,000 vehicles sold. So it was definitely much more than that. And in fact, DeRosier says that now that supply chains have eased up, it looks like everything's kind of getting back to normal. So it's pretty good news for the automotive industry, Cynthia.
All right, that is good news. Let's talk about Apple. It's just been hit with a fairly large fine.
Indeed. So it's a $2 billion fine laid at Apple's feet, although relatively speaking, Apple can definitely pay it considering they're worth $2.77 trillion in market cap. But nonetheless, a hefty fine for the company on the European watchdogs for competition, saying that Apple went out of its way to stifle the competition through its iOS App Store, notably with Spotify for things like music streaming services. And Apple, of course, charges a 30% fee to companies for in-app purchases. Spotify seeking to work around it by directing customers to its website to sign up. Apple moved to block them from doing that, which the European Union says shouldn't have been allowed.
Hence the $2 billion fine. It's really interesting when you put it into context and say how many trillions it's worth, right?
Exactly. I'm not sure if it really will impact their bottom line, but nonetheless, a big figure, Cynthia.
I don't think anybody wants to lose $2 billion, not even Apple. All right, this was a busy weekend at theaters, and moviegoers were anxious to see one film in particular, Ari.
For sure, Cynthia, and I'm a pretty big fan of these movies as well, although I'd like to wait for the hype to die down a little bit so I can have better seat selection. But definitely was hard to get a seat this past weekend in theaters for Dune Part 2. So it had its hotly anticipated theatrical release. In the 3-day periods over the weekend, the movie brought in just over $80 million in the North American box office and nearly $180 million worldwide. And it's only just been theaters for about 3 days, so this could be the makings of something big this year, Cynthia. It could be in theaters for a while, and it looks like it's actually reportedly cost $190 million to make, so it's already pretty much broken even at this rate.
Well, it's good to see the theaters getting people in because they really suffered through COVID.
And these kind of big budget, big spectacle, big special effects kind of movies where you really want to see it in theaters, and that seems to be bringing people back in droves.
All right, Ari, great to talk to you. Thanks so much.
You as well, Cynthia.